I know you fought a lot of legends in your career already, names like Glover Teixeira and Shogun Rua. So, how do you compare getting this chance to fight No Mercy Melvin Manhoef?
I mean, it's just another fight to me. As for Shogun, fighting Shogun, that was one the legend. The name of the legend kind of like struck me going into the fight, especially I think it was like my eighth pro fight, eighth or ninth. To think, oh, I'm fighting Shogun already. So that was kind of like a shocker for me, and I had that, I don't know, say adrenaline, what you call that respect of him being one of the legends I actually looked up to in the sport. But as for or Glover, I didn't really look at him as much of a legend because I didn't really follow him until I got into the UFC. And same with Melvin. I'd never really seen any of Melvin's fights until they told me that's who I was fighting. So as for looking at him as a legend, I can't take away what he's done in the sport. He's definitely beat some of the guys, and he's a legend in the combat sport. But that legendary factor doesn't register in my mind because he wasn't a person I actually watched growing up.
Fair enough. And knowing this is your Bellator debut, and you obviously had some issues, shall we say, in your previous promotion, how do you feel now? How much more comfortable are you, and how does that improve things going into the fight for you?
I mean, I feel free. I've talked to my wife, I talked to my coaches about it. To me, it's like I'm starting all over. It feels like my very first fight ever. Just the pressure isn't really none of that pressure, none of the extra burdens on your back. You don't have the president over here talking trash about you. You don't have the commentators and everything saying negative things or saying good things. You got to try to impress somebody. You don't have to worry about making a needle move to get a title fight like they told me there and stuff like that. I'm here to fight. And I feel if I win, I move forward. And that's the reason why I got in the sport of martial arts in the first place. I grew up watching Matt Hughes, training with Matt Hughes in college, and he was the champ at the time. He used to tell us all the time, fighting and wrestling is similar. You beat the guy in front of you, you move forward. You work hard and you earn that position. That's all you gotta do. You go out there and you beat the person in front of you and you move forward. There's nothing else to it. And that was like one of the reasons why I got into the sport, thinking like, okay, if I just beat these guys, I move forward. And then when it got to the point where things started to change, it wasn't about beating the guy and moving forward. It was more about, are you selling tickets? Are you a fan favorite? How much money are you going to make us? Okay, how many followers do you have? Is people talking about you on social media right now? And then they kind of realized it took the love of the sport away from me. As far I wasn't going out there to fight just to win anymore. I started going out there to fight to win the fans over and to promote myself and get a big enough following so they would finally give me the title fight. And now that I don't have that baggage and that stress anymore, I just feel free. Like I can go back to just doing what Corey Anderson does and just perform to dominate my way, get the win, get my hand raised, get 2 checks, and go home.
All right, we look forward to seeing that on Thursday. Glad to hear you're so happy now. Thank you.
Gabriel?
Yes, sir. It's the same thing, just different people. After I signed with Bellator, a lot of the interviews were saying, like, oh, what do you see different here? Like, why is it that you left Bellator or UFC to go to Bellator? Dana White is saying, oh, you can compete better over there, this, and that. And like I told him, it's the same risk, but with a higher reward now. In UFC, they didn't value me. When we asked for more money, they just shut it down. As for Bellator, their first offer was just a big amount of money compared to what the UFC wanted to pay me, which made me realize, okay, this company sees my worth. So why would I risk getting hurt for a company that doesn't see that and not going to pay me anything when I can go get paid my worth and make some money for the same risk where if I can end up in the hospital, I can end up with a broken arm, a leg, brain damage, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, at least I got paid for what I'm doing. I got paid for the job I signed up for instead of getting paid for just being another number to go out there and cockfight.
All right, we'll go to Garrett.
Oh, good evening, Corey from London. Gareth A. Davis calling. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself, Garrett? Love the accent.
Thank you very much, Corey. I wanted to ask, first of all, does a victory over Melvin Manhoef, do you think for you propel you into title realm?
I'm not really thinking about that. I think that was a problem I had in the UFC. after every fight or before every fight, I was telling myself, I win this one, this fashion, this, and that. They got to give me a title fight. You know, I've been on a winning streak. I'm ranked in the top. And at the end against Jan, I feel like that was part of the thing. And that's why I went out there and fought the way I did. I didn't go out there and fight the way Corey does. I went out there and fought the way Jan tried to fight. And I paid the ultimate cost because I was worried about if I go out here and dominate this guy in his style and beat him in a certain way, I get a title fight next. And John Jones was there. There's no way to go around it. He said my name, blah, blah, blah. And as for this camp, I haven't even thought about when I get a title fight. I haven't thought about what this fight would do to me next. All I keep telling everybody is we're going to go out here one fight at a time. If we got to fight 2 fights, 3 fights, 4 fights, or 1 fight, either way, it'll be worth it because we're getting paid our actual worth. We're getting paid for these fights. That's my job to fight. Am I saying I don't want to get to the title as fast as possible? No, but is the title like the main focus right now? At this moment, Melvin Manhoef is the main focus. Go out there and get a win with him. After that, we talk to Sky, we talk to Mike, and we'll see what they say. If they wanted me to fight another one, fine. If I fight the winner of whoever fights for the belt next, fine. If I jump whoever and fight for the belt next, I'm ready for it. But either way, my job, I sign a contract and go out there and perform.
Obviously, you've talked about the just now in the previous question about how obviously financially it benefited you and you could see the advantages of that and maybe things weren't going your way in the UFC. But did the strength of the division attract you as well?
I mean, some of the biggest decisions had nothing to do with like the people in the organization and the division. It was more about self-worth, setting myself up financially, me and my family financially. The way I put it is I was in the UFC for 7 years. And when people think that, like, wow, you're a professional fighter, you're a UFC fighter, you got lots of money. But if you look at my bank account, you look like I'm just on a regional fight scene. I've got 7 years fight on a regional fight scene because the risk wasn't worth the reward. You know, the things I was doing, the money I was making there was not worth the people I was beating. And now I look back and they releasing people's pay, and I see there's guys that's been in the UFC 1 or 2 years that was making more than me already. And it was kind of like a slap in the face. Like it took me so long to realize how much I was actually worth before I asked for it. And that was kind of a big thing. You know, the hardest part for me to sign that new contract was the fact that since I got in the fight game, since I got in the UFC within 3 fights I was in the UFC, the mindset was always to be the UFC champion, UFC champion, UFC champion. Those 3 words are engraved in your head. And when you go to sleep, when you wake up, when you're training, all you're thinking is UFC. So it's hard for me to think when I sign this contract that I won't be fighting for the UFC belt. But other than that, everything else made sense to go to Bellator. But the only thing that I struggled with was those 3 words that was engraved in my head. Then there's the division here. There's less 205ers here, I think. But the 205ers here can go, I feel, not all of them, but a lot of them can go compete with maybe not the champions, but some of the top guys. But then you take Nemkov, Bader, Phil Davis, Bill Machida, the guys who are already performing at those top levels, and you put them back over there, and you already know they can perform in the top. So either way, I was going to fight tough people, but it was just about figuring out which one was worth going to fight the top people. Which one are you going to get paid the more for to fight the top people? Why risk getting knocked out or hurt for a little chump change where you can go get paid and actually be able to live a life and take care of your family?
Final little question for me before Danny moves me on. Melvin Manhoef is a legend in our sport. Is he arguably the biggest name you've ever fought?
No, I don't think so. I think the biggest name I fought was Shogun Rua or Glover Teixeira. You know, Melvin has definitely done his thing. He's beat some of the best in the world, and he's been in a lot of promotions. But I just feel like his name isn't as well known in the fight industry as those two, Shogun and Glover. You know, those guys, like both of those guys fought John Jones, you know, who is today our pound for, well, can't say pound for pound now because it could be, but our GOAT. We still say he's the GOAT. A lot of people still say that. Can't take away that from him. And Glover and Shogun has fought John Jones. Glover went 5 rounds with John Jones, and I beat Glover up pretty good. Shogun went and got finished by John Jones, and I fought 3 rounds of him. So I think those were the bigger names than Melvin, but Melvin is in the top 3 for sure.
Steven? Corey, you were talking about trying to fight a certain way to get a certain result in the octagon, you know, title shot, whatnot. Do you think that being in Bellator will actually change the way you fight?
Yeah, like I said, it's a new beginning for me. So being back, not being back, but being in Bellator now, I guess it's taking me back to the way I fought when I got here. The way I fought prior was just to win. My coach in college always told me, you don't go out there to win like today's cool. You don't go out there to win by 1 point when wrestling. You don't go out there just to coast through. You go out there to dominate. You impose your will on a man. And he was my fight coach for a little bit too, and he said the same thing. We go out there, we're going to take these guys down, and you're going to make them carry your weight, and you dominate. You're going to make them want to quit because they're carrying your weight for 3 rounds. You just put it on, if it's standing, if it's in the clinch, if it's on the ground, you're just putting pressure on them constantly, and make them go through a living hell. And, I feel like I can fight that way again here. As for in the UFC, when you would do that, it was, this is boring. This guy's boring. Boo. This guy sucks. Stand him up. And that's the stuff Dana White and Nick Maynard and all those see. And when it comes down to picking who's going to move forward in the rankings and who's going to get the next shot, they take that into perspective. It's like, well, the fans doesn't like this guy's style, so there's no point in promoting him for a title fight. That's going to lose his money. But then you got these guys out here swinging like rock'em sock'em robots, knocking each other senseless. Like, that's what we like. That's what everybody want to see. They love the blood. They love the gore. We're going to promote that. And I feel here, it's not going to be that way. If you win, you move forward. And I can just go out there and win.
Why do you think Bellator wanted to get into the Corey Anderson business?
I mean, I feel the Corey Anderson business is still a hot market. Granted, you think about it, my last loss, four of my last 5 fights were against all top contenders except for Pat Cummins, and the one loss I have is now the world champion. I mean, if you think that, why wouldn't he want to get into the Corey Anderson business? If he's willing to leave the top promotion and his last loss in the last 3 or 2 years is against the former world champ now, or the guy's getting the title shot for the title, why wouldn't we take that guy? That's one of the top in the world. We bring him over. Not only will that bring extra media, and he goes back and tells people the way he's getting treated, maybe he can get other people from the UFC to realize UFC isn't the only monopoly out there. Come get paid somewhere else. You can get treated better elsewhere. And so far, as we've seen, I think 3 or 4 other guys from the UFC since I have signed have come to Bellator as well.
Do you have anything to do with that?
No. I know I've talked to a few people about it, but not the 3 that signed. The 3 that I know that signed, I had nothing to do with it. 2 of them I know we have the same management, and I think he actually said something to them about the way things went for me coming over here, and that might have played a role, but I never said anything to them personally. I spoke to the media, and maybe they heard my interviews. I would like to think I had a little impact on it, but I won't take credit for it because I don't know them.
Why do you think it took you so long to realize your worth?
The 3 letters, UFC. When you think about UFC gold, you get infatuated by it because you thought about it for so long. There's a lot of people, like I know kids in the gym now. And when I was in the UFC, I used to tell them, UFC isn't the end of the road, bro. There's Bellator, there's other places. Go somewhere else. If you can go somewhere else and get paid, go do it. And then when it turned around and it was in my lap for the same situation, I was like them. I was blinded by that thought, the UFC go. I want the UFC go. As for those guys who, a lot of people say, oh, my whole life I want to be a UFC champion. I didn't want to be a UFC champion until I was in the UFC. I didn't want to fight really until I got to the Ultimate Fighter. And I was like, all right, if I'm in this, I might as well go all out and make the best of it. And, it's just when you are stuck in your way as a person like me who, when I have a mindset to do something, I usually do it. And the fact that I always told myself, I'm going to be the UFC champion before I retire, for the fact to think if I was to leave here now, I would never meet that goal. And I feel like that was probably the reason why it was so hard for me to go ahead and just say, all right, it's time to part ways.
Last question. I have to ask your opinion. What do you think of Israel Adesanya going up to face Jan?
It's a fight that the UFC will make, Like I said in the other interview, you think about the 205 division, you got Marata and Glover fighting this weekend, which is number 1 and number 2 versus number 3 or 4, whatever it is, which would be a title contention fight you would see. But why in the world would you book the same week that fight is booked, you book the 85-pound champ versus 205-pound champ? Now that means the winner of this fight next weekend just has to wait or fight someone else. And the way the UFC works is like if you decide to wait, they're going to try to push somebody in front of you that's willing to fight one of the top guys. And if you don't wait, you go out there and fight, you can take the chance of losing like I did against Jan Blachowicz. And that's just the way the game, the cards fall in the UFC. It's about what's going to make them the most money. It's not about what makes the most sense anymore.
I will take one or two more. Donna?
Hi, Corey. How's it going? Sorry about the connection issues earlier. Uh, if you went, if you stuck with the UFC, if you go to Bellator, the chances are you were never going to end up getting that matchup with John Jones. He seems pretty intent on moving up to heavyweight. Does that disappoint you a little bit that you're never going to get that fight?
You find a way to make peace with it. At the time when I was still in the UFC and all that stuff was going on and he was out and everything, it was kind of a thought in my mind. But once I leave, you break bread with that. My drama and my beef with John Jones is behind me. And when I put that behind me, I made a public apology to John. I personally reached out to him and apologized to him for things I had said in the media and the things I said to him and crashing his meet and greets before. And like I said, you just mature and you learn how to put things like that behind you, and it doesn't really affect you anymore.
So you're not going to be doing any more shenanigans trying to get a matchup with Vadim Nemkov, no?
Nah, that's behind me. I've matured.
Thank you, buddy.
All right, we'll go to Lenny.
How's it going, Corey? How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself, Lenny?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for asking. So with the move over to Bellator, I know a lot of people in here have been asking you about the move to Bellator and the UFC, but it's quite a hot topic. When you got announced from Bellator, the MMA community kind of crashed a little bit. They were a bit surprised that you went over to Bellator. So, and what Scott Coker said about the light heavyweight division, he said that he believes he has the best light heavyweight division in the world. Is that same with you? Do you think you're in the best light heavyweight division in the world?
I feel like I'm in the midst of some of the top in the world. You never really know who's the best in the world till the two top guys fight. But I know in the UFC I was in the top. I know here I'm in the top. I just know the top here and the top there are the elite 205ers in the world, period. Can you say the 205 here is the actual best until somebody beat John Jones? It's debatable. Now that John Jones has moved on, yes, Bader did a lot of great things and Nemkov beat him, but at the same time, you got to give respect to John Jones. You can't take away what he's done. And I'm a realist, and I keep it real. And I feel like until someone beat him, we can never really say we are the best. Unless we accomplish the things he have or beat him, we're going to always be chasing that GOAT thing. And until we get the GOAT name, in order to get the GOAT name, you got to break the records. You got to do the things he's done. And so far, I haven't seen anybody do that. Can we all compete with John Jones? 100%. As we see in his recent fights, he's been going decision. I think he lost the actual fight against Dominic Reyes, but I think the top is here, and there are some top guys there, and the top guys here can definitely go toe-to-toe with those guys, and we'll win for any given day. Look at Michael Chandler. He just left here and went there, and right away got thrown into the alternate for the title fight. But I would never claim who's the best and what's the best until the best actually match up and prove themselves.
All right, we'll take our last question from Giancarlo.
Hi, Corey. This whole pandemic has been a really difficult thing for some fighters to get training in. How have you adapted your training to make sure that you're prepared for your Bellator debut?
I prepare for my training the same way I prepare for anything. I'm a grinder. I'm a hustler. I'm gonna make way and make things happen. When the pandemic hit and all the gyms got shut down in New Jersey, I literally have a garage in my house and I have cars and toys in there. I put everything outside and just matted the gym out. Got the few guys I knew that had jobs that would have to be COVID free and would invite them over and train. Then as time went on, I ended up buying weights and installed weights in the garage. And I ordered heavy bags and jump ropes and resistance bands and ground and pound dummies and everything you need to start a gym off in my garage and to stay focused and keep working. And this was before the Bellator announcement came, before I signed with them. And then by the time I signed, the gyms were back open. And then I was able to get in contact with my coaches and realize it's time to go all gas, no break. And to put the grind I have been doing the whole quarantine lockdown, the COVID lockdown, on top of the things we've been doing since the gyms open back up, I just feel phenomenal. I feel confident. I feel ready. Like I just said, I feel free. The mind isn't stressing like, did I do enough? Did I cover all the bases? We've been working nonstop since the last fight. As soon as we got to the hospital, we went back to work. And I'm just confident in everything I've done, my partners, my coaches, and the time we spent training, that we are prepared to go out here no matter who they gave me. Nemkov, Manhoef, Bader, Machida, Davis, whoever it was, we're going to be ready regardless.
All right, our last one, Simon Romero.
Hey, Corey, Simon Merrill from MMA Island here. I have this last important question. you're moving over here to Bellator for your debut on Thursday. Were there ever thoughts of shaving that beautiful beard you have going on over there?
It actually was a thought, to be honest. I shaved my head Sunday in quarantine. And what I was doing, I was thinking like, if I'm shaving here, I might go ahead. I wasn't gonna shave it all the way off. I've never been beardless since I finished wrestling in college. But it was actually a thought, like while I was shaping it up, like, should I come down a little bit? Maybe a new promotion, new me. And I was like, nah, beard gang forever.